Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are what Paul George and Kawhi Leonard were supposed to be. So now what Boston is going to do is they're going to unload one of those guys and bring in a guy who was supposed to be as good as a duo as this guy. What the hell are we doing that for?
Why do you like Kawhi and Jaylen Brown's fit based on all the flaws you just detailed with Jaylen Brown's game? Why does Kawhi and Jaylen Brown make sense?
Because Jaylen Brown is much younger, and I think that I just think there's especially youth. I think that if Clippers want to move in the right direction for their organization, they know that Kawhi Leonard is getting older as well, right? You bring in another younger player as well, and Jaylen Brown, which they can, as an organization, feel the need that yes, he can stick around a little bit longer because of his youth as well, and his hope that he can get better as well. I think that's the reason why Clippers will go get a guy like Jaylen Brown and move on for a guy like Paul George, because they know that Kawhi Leonard, ladies and gentlemen, hold on. They know that the guy like Kawhi Leonard, ladies and gentlemen, probably got maybe 3 or 4 years left in the game.
No,
you bringing in a guy like hold on, chill.
I'm listening to you. Keep going.
You bringing in a guy like goddamn Jaylen Brown. He's young. The flaws are still there, but the hope as an organization is for him to get better, and for him when Kawhi Leonard goes, star of that team.
Hold that thought, Damo. Because we got a conversation. I know where you're going, Damo. Hold that thought. Mars, keep going.
Okay, so what we're saying is you get Jaylen Brown to go younger, but Jaylen Brown is worse than Paul George based on everything you just detailed. So the Clippers aren't trying to win. Is that what you're saying?
Well, them having Kawhi and Paul George, they're not trying to win as well.
Okay, so you're saying the Clippers should not be trying to win, and that's why they should go younger with Jaylen Brown.
Yeah. Get a younger player in Jaylen Brown, a guy that you know that he can stick around for multiple years for that organization, develop to a star or borderline superstar as well, right? What Kawhi Leonard and Paul George is basically like, let's hope for them to be healthy, but like when you look at their fit between Kawhi and Paul George, they both play the same exact position, and you can make an argument that both players play better when they're not playing as well. So not playing with each other. So
Mook, your logic is
no.
Jaylen Brown. That's what that's basically what you're saying.
No, I think what it sounds. No,
that's what it has to be.
It sounds more like
Brown.
To me.
That's what it sounds like he's saying.
That's the logic.
To me, it sounds like maybe sacrifice a little short-term success for a player that we know is good and injured, for a player who's going to play more and maybe give us longer-term success because he's younger. Is that?
But then you in turn you'd have to trade Kawhi, right?
Eventually, yeah, that's probably the next step.
Well, if he's saying
if
he says the Clippers aren't trying to win, if he says the Clippers aren't trying to win, you'd have to trade Kawhi.
Either that or Kawhi just might retire, bro.
Sure,
which would be even worse.
So Jaylen Brown, with all the flaws you just said, that's the building block of the Clippers franchise.
That's why I say they're gonna hope for him to get proving those flaws, right? And they're gonna hope that he can develop as a borderline superstar or top 10 player in this league. That's what they traded for Jaylen Brown.
What signs are there of that? So just
what mean signs?
What's the signs of Jaylen Brown improving on these flaws, considering he got drafted in 2016? What's the signs?
Going into year 8, by the way.
Yeah, what's the signs? Like, if the sign is just hope, draft Amani Bates. Why not?
Damo, I'm sorry to cut you off. You had something. I apologize, Damo. I know you had something. I apologize.
I just wanted to ask, because during his explanation, the only thing he could muster up about Jaylen Brown was youth. In that case, why not just tank? Why not pull the Wizards? Just get a bunch of youth. Just tank it all.
No.
Because you're saying, do this because of the
because
youth
it's not
and the hope of Jaylen Brown becoming the superstar, which I don't know about you. I don't know how many guys go 7-8 years in their career and you're still talking about their development and the potential of them being something. At that point, they are who they are for the most part. I'm pretty sure you can find an exception or two. I don't think Mr. No Left Hand is that exception. So you're saying trade Paul George for Jaylen Brown because of youth and it's better for the long term, and then Kawhi Leonard retiring, so you're getting nothing back for Kawhi Leonard. You traded away your draft picks to get Paul George. So as of right now, you're just Portland Trailblazers with no picks.
All right, look, that's what I'm basically saying. And I think we've risen this like next couple of years and stuff like that. But I just think that when you're getting Jaylen Brown, and I keep on saying that draft these players in the draft, it's not guaranteed that they can develop as a star. Right now, Jaylen Brown is a star. He's a star in this league, ladies and gentlemen, right? And I think that if the flaws improve his playmaking and his passing, like his ball security, which I think that those are minor things that needs to get fixed, and it takes experience, right? Kawhi Leonard, for the most part, was not no great playmaker, right? Or no good passer and stuff like that. When he went to the Clippers, he improved tremendously as one of the best playmakers and passers, right? So like I said there and said, like, I believe that Jaylen Brown, bringing in a guy like Jaylen Brown to the Los Angeles Clippers, the youth, right? His potential, his star talent, his improvement in his production every year. Jaylen Brown went from 2021 to 2022 averaging 22, 23 to 26.5 score. You know what I'm saying? So like that's the add in production improvement, and also just him developing to that. I think that's something that the Clippers to look for and try to deal Paul George for Jaylen Brown as well.
The development logic move. The problem with the development logic is that we're further along. That's number one. Number two, you just mentioned this a little while ago. He has major flaws. You don't fix major flaws in year 8. You don't fix major flaws.
I think I over-exaggerated with them.
So you're a little embellished in that.
Yeah, I over-exaggerated.
Half an hour ago, you were talking about the major flaws.
Yeah, I was talking about it, but I think that
they just became not major.
He exaggerated them.
I over-exaggerated.
Kind of a little embellished there.
It seems like you're trying to sell the Clippers on getting rid of Paul George.
Yo,
that's what it sounds like.
Mookie, I'm gonna step in because I do kind of feel where you're coming from, and I'm gonna highlight some points to this that I think that you haven't highlighted yet. The big thing about it is Paul George and Kawhi Leonard haven't done nothing yet, and it doesn't look like they're gonna do anything. Paul George is 33, Kawhi Leonard's 33, and they're both going in the opposite direction, and they're both injury prone. You bring in a younger Jaylen Brown. He's 26 as opposed to Paul George is 33. He's healthier. He's more consistent. On top of that, we all know what Jaylen Brown brings to the tables.
Right.
We don't need to talk about the flaws. We all know the player he's capable of being. Will he get better? Who knows? But we all know what he's capable of right now. He's an all-star level player. You bring him in and you kind of start from scratch. I'm not saying we're not saying you get better today, right? Because I'm not saying that Paul George at his best is worse than Jaylen Brown at his best. But you get a younger player to build around, and you get to start going in a new direction. And on top of that, you get availability is the best ability. So
yes, it is.
That's gonna be able.
That's the point.
With all of that being,
Mookie couldn't say that point about health because then it wouldn't make sense for Boston to trade for Paul George. That's why he had to go all around the houses with all these other explanations.
I had to get my bag and just break it down.
And to compound that point,
just be clear. Jaylen Brown is a better. You want Jaylen Brown on your team versus PG3 at this point or PG.
Absolutely.
First
at
and
this
foremost,
point in their career.
Are you dudes really trying to sell me Jaylen Brown? First and foremost, the Boston Celtics. Jaylen Brown. No. Listen right now. So Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are what Paul George and Kawhi Leonard were supposed to be. So now what Boston is going to do is they're going to unload one of those guys and bring in a guy who was supposed to be as good as a duo as this guy. What the hell are we doing that for?